Hello YouTube, Sidekick here with another installment of It's Not You, It's ME, my series of videos about the DCS Mission Editor. In the last episode in the series, we had started making a complex single-player mission. We talked about the steps that at least I go through when I make a mission, and we had gotten as far as working out the script and kind of setting the scene, and we had put some units on the map, and now it was time to actually start testing a little bit with the AI to see if we could get it to do what we wanted it to do. So why don't we pick up from there and let's go open the mission. Okay, so here we are in the mission. You can see that I've got the enemy AAA units now. I have actually deleted the friendly aircraft units because I just don't want them in the way. The other thing I've done is you'll notice that I have set almost all of the enemy AAA to late activation except this one battery. So we only have one unit to worry about on the map. Now, what we're trying to do here is to create a situation where the enemy AAA fires a fair bit, so it gives an impression that there's a lot of flak, and also gives the player the opportunity to see where the flak is, but we don't necessarily want the flak to just be firing at aircraft when they're in the area. So we want to actually set it up to fire a barrage, effectively, when we want it to. So let's take a look at how we do that. First, we click on the unit, and we go down to this area here. Make sure we've got waypoint mode selected, and we're going to add what's called an advanced waypoint action with the add button there. It's going to be a perform task, and we're going to make it a fire at a point. And the game gives us a point way over there. We need to move it in a little closer. Just need to set up a couple things here. Let's tell it to fire at 4,000 feet, and we'll give it a 1,000-foot radius, just so we're not always firing at the same point. And that looks pretty good. And so now, why don't we just go in the mission and see what that gives us? Okay, so here we are in the mission. We start, we'll zoom back out. Now it takes a few minutes for the guns to, or a few seconds for the guns to get their orders. Once the timer starts, there we go. And it looks like they are firing a barrage, and that looks like that's the kind of thing that we could see from a distance. So I think we can call that a successful test, and let's go back to the mission editor. Okay, so here we are back in the mission editor. So that looked good, but now the thing is that we might not want them to be firing all the time. The way it's set up right now, they'll basically turn on, fire all their ammunition, whether or not the player ever gets there to see them. So we may want to experiment a little with figuring out how to turn them on and off. And luckily, there are lots of options for doing that. So if we want to take a look at that, all we have to do is hit the edit button right there, and then we can take a look at the condition button, which is the condition that will start the task, and we can just set it to a timer here. So let's just for test, let's set it to a timer. Let's set it to 30 seconds into the mission. 30 seconds into the mission. Get that right there. 30 seconds into the mission. And then we can take the stop condition and we can just set a duration also of 30 seconds. And hopefully, so what should happen is we should wait 30 seconds, then we should fire for 30 seconds, then we should be done. So let's go take a look at that. Okay, here we are in the mission. Now we're going to have to wait 30 seconds. And then probably another 10 seconds after that for the guns to get their orders. So let's just hang tight here. And I'm just watching the timer in the lower right-hand corner. Coming up on 20 seconds now. There's 30 seconds, so the task is active, but it usually takes about somewhere around 8 to 10 seconds for the guns to get their orders. And there we go. There they are. So now they're firing. So we'll keep watching the timer. And after 30 seconds more has expired, they should stop. Okay, so that should be their last salvo. And it looks like it is going to be. All right, so let's go back into the mission editor. Okay, that's all well and good. We discovered that we can get them to turn on and turn off. So we don't just blow all our ammunition at the beginning. But I'd like to look at a condition that maybe is a little bit more responsive to the mission. And I think the way that we can do that is to use this one. And so this means that we're going to turn it on when flag 10 is on. And this means we're going to turn it off when flag 10 is off. So now that's going to give us the opportunity to use the trigger system to decide when the guns fire. So let's put in a new trigger here, and let's call it start firing maybe. And we'll just basically do the same thing as we did the last time. We'll just have them turn on at a time. So why don't we we'll just set a time is more than condition, maybe not 30 seconds this time, and we'll just give it 15 because they're going to add their own 10 seconds to it anyways. And then all we have to do is set flag 10 on, because flag 10 is the flag that's going to turn on the firing. And then to turn them off, just add another new trigger here. We'll call it stop firing. And what we'll do is we'll set that to a time since flag condition. So we'll set it to 30 seconds since flag 10 went on. And then all we have to do is turn flag 10 off. Okay. Maybe actually one thing we want to do is just add some debug messages so we know when these things are happening. I'll just add those in. So basically the idea here is we're doing the same thing we did last time, but this time we're using our trigger flags to turn things on and off. So that means that we can eventually set the triggers to things like when there are friendly aircraft in the area or some other condition that we choose. So basically, instead of just having it go by time, we can have it be responsive to the way the mission is going, which is probably more like what we're going to want to do. So let's take a quick check of that. Okay, here we are. So now 15 seconds into the mission, flag should go on, and about 10 seconds after that, the gun should start firing. So here we go. 15 seconds, we get the start firing message. Wait about another 10. Right about there. Good. So now the guns fire. And they should go for about 30 seconds. And then we should get the stop firing message. Okay, right around there. We get stop firing message, and in fact, they have stopped. So let's go back to the mission editor. So now the only thing about that system is that that will only happen once. I've done some testing and you can't make it repeatable. That particular action will be started exactly once and stopped exactly once. So if we want to have the guns respond to, for instance, multiple aircraft coming in, then we're going to have to actually add another trigger, but that's okay because we could actually set it to fire at a different point and so add a little bit of variety to things. So we're just going to go over here and we're going to click on the add button again, and that's going to give us another point. And we're going to choose, I guess we could have cloned it, but anyways, we're going to get another fire at point. Now let's move this to a very different point this time, just so we can see that it's different. Need to put in an altitude again. And we need to put in a radius. And now we need to set new conditions. So this time we're going to use flag 11. So it's going to be on when flag 11's on. And it's going to be off when flag 11 is off. Okay, so now we just need to go into the trigger system and add trigger 11. So let's clone this guy. And what should we do? Well, maybe the easiest thing is to just make this a time is more again. So let's just make it time is more. I make it a minute. So that'll be 15 seconds after the last one ends. And then we just need to make this flag 11. And then we need to clone this guy. And I think we have to do a time is more than flag 11. And we got to change this to flag 11 off. And that should mean that we fire at the first point for 30 seconds, starting at 15 seconds into the mission. Then we're off for 15 seconds, and then we're firing at point 2 for 30 seconds. So let's see if that works. Okay, so there's our enemy AAA. So wait till 15 seconds and then probably about 10 seconds more. There we go. There's the flag to start firing, and then we wait for about 10 seconds and the firing actually starts. There we go. So that's firing at that first location. You know, now that I'm looking at it, I'm wondering if maybe we need a different time of day. I think the sun angle behind things like that isn't going to make it very easy for the player. So we're going to take a look at adjusting the lighting here a little bit later on, but not right now. Okay, so now we've stopped firing. Wait 15 seconds and we'll get the start firing flag again, although we'll probably end up waiting the delay while the units get their orders, I think. Okay, there's the start firing. Yeah, they don't start right away. Somewhere around, there we go. And they are definitely firing in a different direction. Oops, we got one burst. Is that all we're going to get? Obviously, there's not a lot of consistency in how often they fire, but I think we're still on. There we go, yes. And they're definitely firing at a different location. There we go, we can see it there. Okay, and now they've stopped firing. And in fact, they have stopped. So let's go back to the mission editor. So that's good. We have proven that we can get guns to fire at the point we want them to. And we have also figured out that we can get guns to fire at multiple different points, and we can get them to start and stop when we want them to using the flag. So I think we can be satisfied that we know what we're doing with the enemy AI. So now let's take a look at the friendly AI. And I've already set a lot of this stuff up just to save time, so I'll just show you what we've got set up to test right now. First of all, we have the flak suppressor element here. These are the guys that are carrying Zuni rockets. And we have the bomber element here. They're going to take out the bridge, and they are carrying Mark 83 bombs. Okay, so what we want to have happen, roughly, is we want the flak suppressors to come in. We want them to orbit around Whiskey, and then at some time, we want the bombers to take off, and we want the flak suppressors to come in here. We want them to attack one at least of the enemy AAA, and then egress. Okay, we'll worry about the bombers in a minute, but for now what I want to do is make sure that these guys can come in, spend some time at Whiskey, and then be released. And so what I'm going to do, I think, is I'm going to have the bombers take off after the start of the mission. So they're going to take off about 2 minutes after the mission, and hopefully that's going to give these guys time to get on orbit, and then they're going to stay there until the bombers actually take off. So we can test the logic to make sure that we can kind of release them based on a condition. Then they're going to go to their IP, and then they're going to make their attack. So let's see how we set up the waypoint logic, waypoint action logic for that. So the first thing is I've just put them in a formation. I put them in an echelon right, group close formation, honestly, because it's just going to make for some good video shots of them flying around Whiskey. And to be fair, it did work out pretty well. So at Whiskey, the waypoint at Whiskey, I want them to orbit. And so I just set perform task orbit. I'm just giving them a standard height. And the condition is when the user flag 10 is on. So now we just have to come up with a condition for turning user flag 10 on that has to do with the bombers taking off. So the way we're going to do that is we add this condition that says essentially when the bombers are in a zone called takeoff, then we will set flag number 10. And takeoff we set to a little zone at the end of the runway. So when our bombers have reached the end of the runway, they will release the flak suppressors to go in and run their attack. Okay, so the next thing that we need to do is set up what they're going to attack. And so I've used attack unit, or attack group, same as I did in the, well, slightly different. Instead of doing an attack point in space, I've told them to attack a group. Now I've got 3 different possibilities here, and what I've done is I've given them all probabilities. So they have a 35% chance of attacking the first group. If they don't attack the first group, they have 50% chance of attacking the second group. If they don't attack the second group, then they're definitely going to attack the third group. At least that's how I think this is supposed to work. And if you work that out, it should give them a roughly 1/3 chance of attacking any one of those sites. So it adds a little bit of randomness, so the player is not going to know which of those sites is actually going to get taken out by the flak suppressors each time. We'll see if that works. I haven't tried that before. Okay, so the flak suppressors are set up. They're going to orbit Whiskey until the bombers take off. And then they're going to fly into their IP, and then they're going to attack one of the AAA batteries. Okay. I don't really want to deal with the bombers just yet. So maybe what we'll do is we'll just have them take off and orbit Whiskey. So give them a nice formation so we can get some good shots of them as well. And then let's have them go to we'll basically give them an orbit. So let's go and see how that looks in the game. I'm just going to pop out of that and go into F10 mode. And then I'm actually just going to speed things up a little bit because we can sort of watch this on the tabletop, as it were. Okay, there are the flak suppressors going into their orbit. Still got a little time before the bombers are supposed to show up. So they're doing a nice, hefty little orbit around Point Whiskey. That's good. And we should be seeing there, the bombers are up. And then once they get rolling down the runway, which they're doing, we are going to see the flak suppressors give a message that they're going in. And so they break off their orbit and they head for their IP. The bombers are heading for Whiskey. Let's get a little closer to the target area here. And we see them come to their IP somewhere around there. They turn in. That's good. And they say they're running in. And we see them launch on the first battery. And now they're breaking off. The bombers have left their orbit. I'm not sure why they did that. We'll have to figure that out. And the flak suppressors are going in for another round, which is not the behavior that we wanted. But I think I know why they're doing that. And the bombers are going off somewhere. Okay. That looks pretty good. I think I know what we need to work on. So why don't we end that and go back to the mission editor. Okay, here we are back in the mission editor. So a few things we want to change. Let's take a look at the flak suppressors first. We don't want them to be making multiple attacks, and I think I know why they're doing that. If I go to the waypoint action edit, you can see that I've got the release quantity set to half, And what is happening is that they're making 2 runs because they're only dropping half of the rockets each time. So I'm going to set the release quantity to all for all 3 of the targets. And see if that fixes the problem. And then the other thing is I don't really want them to go inland after they attack. I think it makes more sense for them to break off and go off the coast and also go down low. I think that would be the kind of attack profile that you'd expect. So I'll give them a waypoint out here, and then I'm just going to set the altitude of the waypoint down to 500 feet or so. Okay, I think that takes care of the flak suppressors. So let's take care of the bombers. Obviously, just having them orbit and wait didn't work, so I guess we might as well give them a job here. First thing that we need to do is add another waypoint. We need to add their initial point, and then tell them to attack this bridge when they get to that waypoint. So let's add a waypoint here. Oops. Oh, I added that in the wrong sequence. Welcome to the mission editor. Yeah, we got to delete it here. And we got to advance the waypoint, and then we got to add it. Okay, now it'll work. All right, so we put an IP somewhere around here. And then we're just going to say perform a task, attack a target. And we basically have to zoom in and move the little triangle over the bridge. And that should be fine. So now we just need to make sure that it's a group attack. So both bombers drop their bombs. We might as well be explicit that we want them to use iron bombs. I don't think I need to say all. I'm just going to say they can only make 1 attack. And that should do it. So now we need to add an egress waypoint for them and tell them after they've egressed to go back to base. That should be all we need. Now, what we do have to figure out is how to tell them when to leave their orbiting station. So I have an idea about how maybe we can do that. Let's take a look here. Yeah, what I've done is I've added a trigger here. So you already saw it the last time where when the flak suppressors go through this attack zone, they report that they're running in. And so let's also have them set a flag on. We'll set flag 11 when they do that. And as we figured out with the enemy AI, I can use that flag to actually trigger the AI starting its barrage. Though I haven't set it up that way just yet, but that would be a good way to use that flag. But I can also use that flag right now just as a way to release the bombers. Now, when we do this in the mission, the player is going to do all of this manually, but they just need a way to do the testing right now. So I want the bombers to go to whiskey. When flag 11 turns on, then I want them to go through their attack routine. So let's go back and get the bombers up and look at their waypoints here. And we'll just edit this and we'll say that we want them to stop doing that when flag 11 is on. And that should get them to orbit until the flak suppressors go in for the attack. And then they should start their own attack. So we should get things sequenced a little bit. So let's just save that as a new file. And let's go see how it works in the game. All right, here we are in the game. Get a picture of our flak suppressors coming in. Okay, back to F10 so we can watch the action here. So speed it up a little bit. There go the flak suppressors. They go into their orbit, waiting for the bombers to take off. Nice big lazy circles there. And just about time, there's the bombers. And there's the bombers taking off. And there's the flak suppressors being released. So in they go. Zoom in a little bit here. They're coming out to their IP, swinging their way in. I wonder if they'll find a different battery this time. Nope, went for the first one again. I'm not sure my randomization is working, but I'll have to test that a little offline. Okay, and then they have egressed out, and they're out of the way, and you can see that once they started in, the bombers have left their orbit, and now they're coming into their IP. And let's take a look. We'll zoom in on the bridge. You can see it's got kind of marked as a target there. And the bombers go in, and they drop bombs on the bridge. Okay, well, let's just go in the game here a little bit, see if we can see what they accomplished. Just got to travel down here a little bit. Okay, looking around those, that's not the bridges we want. Those are already gone. Where did our bridge go? Oop, there it is. Oh, look at that. A nice burning bridge. So, I think our bombers accomplished their mission. So, that looks pretty good. And now we see we've got a flak suppressor here with no rockets on board. And one of the bombers with no bombs on board. So, that's good. And there's the bombers circling around and heading back to base. So all of that looks pretty good. I think that we may have the friendly AI basically sorted out. So let's go back into the mission editor. And I think we pretty much have at least functional AI. We got flak suppressors going to suppress the flak. We got bridge bombers going to bomb the bridge. So I think it's time we actually put the player in this mission and see if we can get it to go the way we want to. So I think, though, this is probably enough for this video. It's already almost half an hour long. So in the next episode, we'll put the player in this mission and see if we can actually make it go. For now, this is going to be Sidekick, signing off.